Hi, everybody. It's Gene Simmons, and you're not, and you're listening to the Potter Than Hell podcast with Steve, BC, BB, and Dylan. But you knew that, didn't you?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is your last stop on the crazy train of hard rock and heavy metal. So sit back, buckle in, and hang on. Here we go.
Hello, Potter Than Hellions. Welcome back to the Potter Than Hell podcast. This is Brad from the Slamfest Podcast, joined by just Steve this week. Steve, how's it going?
I am awesome, and I just want to say, Brad, happy birthday, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate it. Another year around the sun, right?
Another one in the books.
There you go. So the third time we're doing this, so you know what that means. Time for more thunder from the down under. Steve, are you ready to close out the Bon Scott era?
I am, and can you hear the thunder outside my window? I got a lawnmower and a motorcycle going. It just sounds like a usual afternoon here on Potter Than Hell, and it always happens when we record early, but I'm ready to roll. Looking forward to this one. When I did the episode with Steven on the last album duo, or 2x2 as Dylan calls them, we put a cap on the 70s of Judas Priest. So, boom, we're like rolling right along here. So we put a cap on the 70s for AC/DC this time.
There you go. So part 3, If You Want Blood, you got it. Live album from 78, and Highway to Hell, of course, from 1979. Looking forward to this for sure. So, Steve, last week's episode.
Last week, we had the Kiss crew together. We had the whole gang. We had 8 of us recording, which is because we added Richie to the Kiss crew. So, and Dylan didn't participate though. He just kind of ran the board and everything. But we did in our own adoration of what would be like double platinum 2. So we went from Dynasty, including the solo albums, up to Animalize, and we had to pick like 2 songs from each album. And I had all kinds of crazy rules and shit that I usually do impose on these guys, and it was a fun one. Tons and tons of ball busting. So it was a really fun one. I can't wait for you guys to hear it. Like you said, nice. We're recording today, and it's September 3rd, 2024, Brad's birthday. So, and this is Tuesday, so the Kiss episode won't be out till this Friday. So I'm looking forward to having that one out.
Nice. So yeah, what else is going on in your guys' world?
Nothing. Just getting. We got a lot of concerts coming up. We're going to see Jackal on Thursday, and one of our local bands that we know the guys in, Skin and Bones, are one of the opening bands. We're looking forward to that on Thursday, and then. We have Iron Maiden coming up in November. We have KK's Priest and Accept, and I think on the 20th of this month, I think. And like I just told you, a full dance card. I've been trying to get some baseball games in at the end of this minor league season here, and I did 2 games over Labor Day weekend. So living life, baby, living it, loving it.
Nice.
How about you?
Yeah, things are good at Slamfest. I had a string of shows, kind of all within a week, and a couple of them, I can say out of format because a little bit out of format from the hard rock and metal stuff that I'm normally covering with Collective Soul and the Struts, and even my concert chronology shows are kind of out of format in the next few weeks, so I'm in an interesting spot right now.
Yeah, it's like a little pause phase you have going here.
Yeah, so which kind of leads me into what we're listening to. So I'm listening again as a podcaster, right? We're always preparing for shows, and so we're listening to stuff that we're going to talk about. But yeah, so I've been listening to Tonic, Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, and then kind of get back into things with some Rob Zombie and Slayer. So that'll kind of reel me back into some normalcy. But it's interesting to kind of go go outside of the box a little bit every once in a while. So how about you, Steve?
All right, over the Labor Day weekend, I've been listening to, as I've been listening to like the last couple months of stuff, I've been listening to Classic Rewind on Sirius XM quite a bit. But they had an interesting show on this weekend, and it was 40 cassettes that are 40 years old. So from
awesome.
They did 40, and it was picked. The cassettes were picked by the listeners, and so it went from 40 down to 1, and I got to listen to it. I didn't get to listen to it all the way. It's like a 4-hour show, so I kind of listened to it piecemeal, but I did get to listen to the whole show, and that was really cool. I enjoyed the hell out of that. And Kiss Alive, the other day, I don't know, I had a hankering for Kiss Alive too. Threw it on, enjoyed the hell out of it, absolutely loved it. Checking out the 3 new Dead Daisies songs, I enjoyed them too. I pre-ordered their album from my local record store lately. I'm still on my Kiss and Dynamite kick, Brad. Can't get enough of those guys. I don't know. They're seeping into my brain.
Yeah, what I've heard, and I think I got turned on to them from you talking about it on your podcast, and what I've heard from them, I like them. I like them for sure. Good. So again, I've been listening to some Tonic, Green Day, Smashing Pumpkins, Rob Zombie, and Slayer. Steve, Classic Rewind, 40 cassettes that are 40 years old, Kiss Alive 2, and the new Dead Daisy songs. Oh, and of course, Kiss and Dynamite, right?
Absolutely. And Brad, one more thing before we get into AC/DC. I just want to say congratulations to Tom and Zeus and Joey Casada for their Raise Their Glasses book. I know I mentioned it last week on the podcast, but I also want to congratulate you because you are also a contributor to the book.
I am, as are you.
Yes.
As are you. It's awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. It's an amazing project that those guys tackled, and it was a blast contributing to it and having them, they came out the initial time and asked me for some stuff, and then came back and said, "Hey, do you want some more?"
Same here.
Yeah,
yep.
Sure, absolutely. And I know they needed some help with some deeper cuts, and I tried to pick some stuff kind of 50-50, right? I did some reviews just of the songs, but then some other ones I threw in some personal stuff, just personal memories about them, and what an awesome experience, and love that I'm part of it.
Yeah, it was great. I was honored that they would ask me to contribute to it. It was fun, and I've just have not been able to put it down. I'm just like skipping around, and it's cool hearing Bruce talk about the stuff that Bob did and the stuff he did, and everyone that's in there. It's just crazy. There's so many people. I think there's like 116 or 120 different contributors to the book, and it's all good. I mean, even the stuff that you don't listen to that you think is kind of crap, like Peter Criss' solo album, and I'm not a fan of for the most part of Carnival of Souls, but it's interesting reading that stuff, and it kind of makes you look at some songs that you may not have cared about too much in a different way, and you may go back and check them out, and I've done that with a couple.
Absolutely. And initially, I guess I didn't know what they were doing, like how many people they were going to be reviewing different songs. And I love that they had at least 5 on every song, which is great, because you get different perspectives. You get some, people with similar feelings about the songs. But what a great reference, and it'll be cool to listen to songs and go back and listen and read what people had to say about it. So awesome.
When
awesome.
Of course, I'm sure you did what I did, went to look up your own when you got the book.
Well, of course, right.
But I was blown away when I looked up mine. I'm literally on the same page in the same song as Bruce Kulick in Carmine Appice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Carmine Appice. I'm sorry, I don't want to pronounce it wrong.
Oh yeah,
I know they're different. So I was like, holy shit! I was like, wow, that was just so cool. I'm on the same page as those guys.
Very, very cool. Yeah, shout out to those guys for sure. It was awesome. All right, are you ready to get into these albums?
Let's AC/DC.
So, first one up. So, If You Want Blood, You've Got It. Released October 13th, 1978. Produced by Harry Vanda and George Young. Charted at 113 and is certified platinum. So I think we've talked about the covers before, right, Steve?
Yes. Yep.
So what are your thoughts on this? How about the front and back cover?
I like this one. I wish the picture was a little clearer. I don't know. For some reason, it seems a little blurry to me, but it's very cool. You have Bond there, and you have Angus with the guitar going through him, and it's very cool, very iconic cover.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on the previous episode, right, we were talking about Let There Be Rock. I always thought, just based on that painting of them on stage, I always thought that was the live album.
Oh.
And always got that confused. But I remember seeing this album cover in the record stores, and just it freaking me out, man. It always, thumbing through and getting to that as a young kid, and then of course turning it over, and he's the only one left on the stage, and
the neck of the guitar coming out the back.
With the guitar coming out of his back, yeah. Crazy stuff for sure. So little background on the album. So this was recorded at the Apollo Theatre in Glasgow, Scotland, and obviously on the Power Ridge tour. So you've got Bon Scott, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Cliff Williams, who had just come in on the last album, and Phil Rudd on drums. So quick comment about this. It's kind of interesting that I think they were normally a supporting act on this tour for the most part, I believe. You look up some set list, the opening for Aerosmith, opening for Thin Lizzy, and just the fact that they released the live album, in an opening band. I just think that's kind of an interesting move.
Absolutely. And because you could tell, they're just trying to break through at this point. They're getting known, but like not really well known. And like I said, they're mostly a supporting act, and they're not hit, and they didn't hit it in the United States at this point. So, they're support act for all these big bands. You hear, we took AC/DC out under, you hear all that shit and everything. But it is cool, and I wonder how many of these bands that when they open up for them, they just like blew off the stage. You know what I mean? It would have been just crazy. Be like, it's and it's cool when you like see a band like that. You don't say you don't know them, and they like just totally blow you away, and you're like, holy shit. And then you kind of feel like you're in on the ground floor of a band, even though with these guys it's like their fourth album for their tour. And
right.
But I really think, because we did Dirty Deeds before, which literally did not come out until after Back in Black, but we've covered it because it was recorded earlier. But I think if they put that album out earlier, I think that would have vaulted them a little quicker than to wait for Highway to Hell to come out.
Right. Now they opened for Kiss, around this time, right? It was 77 or 78. So holy shit, what a show.
Yeah.
After listening to this live album again, it's like, oh my God, that would have been insane to see those two.
It'd be something to never forget.
No, absolutely. So as we've done in the past episode, Steve, we put a little Slamfest twist on this. We each do, side one, and then I'll do side one, and then you'll do side two, and I'll do side two. You up for that again?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Why don't you start us off with side one?
All right. Starts off with Riff Raff, and the thing with this album for me, like, I think the only album I had out, like, I want to say I had Back in Black first, and then I got Let There Be Rock, and then I got this. So, and back in 1980, I am 12 years old, so you're not, into like all the details of all the bands and their discographies and all that stuff, because you kind of have to go through magazines and stuff to figure out what's going on, because the internet's not going to be invented for like 30 more years, or whatever the years are for that. So you kind of just learn as you go, reading Hit Parade or Circus Magazine and everything like that. And so it was kind of cool. And me and my buddy Rob, we used to like jam all the time, like fake playing and lip syncing and shit. And this was a staple of it, because we were just like, this stuff is fucking fantastic. And Riff Raff starts off, And is there a better build on a live album? Because, in this one, too, you don't get the, ladies and gentlemen, it's AC/DC. You just get that. And it's funny, too, because just talking a couple weeks ago about Unleashed in the East, you kind of get that. You get that fade in on that album, too. And it's just another single album from a band that is up and coming that hasn't totally broke yet. So I think these are kind of like brother and sister live albums. And you get that, the only other song that I could think of that has such a build, for a show opener for AC/DC would be maybe Thunderstruck.
Sure. Yeah.
And in that version on the 1990 the Donington show was just friggin' killer. But when you hear this, and even then you don't know how much studio wizardry's done with this stuff. Listen to the crowd in the Kiss Live too. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like right in your face. So you don't know how much of that is real or put in. But sounds like the crowd is jacked, and you could tell when Angus makes his appearance on the stage.
Oh yeah.
And and the production is so crisp on there. Angus tears it up on it, and just right off the bat, this is just a friggin' chugging machine of a band for Riff Raff. And do you want me to go through the whole side?
Yeah, just go through side one.
We go into Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. The song, the band just marches on here. The bass sound is really good. It's a little low in the mix. You hear the crowd clapping along on this one. I love when Phil, those cymbal hits, Hell Ain't a Bad Place, da-na-na-na, da-na-na-na, very crisp sounding, friggin' love it. Angus has got little bluesy solo going on here. It fits really good. Not a favorite on the album, but it's a good one. Definitely not a skipper. Spoiler alert, no skippers on this one. Bad Boy Boogie, the crowd, soars again there. I like the fast pace on this one. There's a slowdown right before the solo rips. There's that stop and start, that dan and he plays that single note, that just really, really cool. Malcolm is just strumming underneath it. Another fun track. And the Jack. Oh, the Jack. And this is my initial version of this. So when and I think we did talk about it when we covered it on High Voltage, and totally different lyrics than the studio album. Totally different. It's got more edge to it. It's more in your face than the innuendo that you get on the studio album. But I just love this one. When I heard this, I was like, what the fuck is this song? And I'm like, I don't know what it is, but I love it. And AC/DC just excels at this type of song. Angus absolutely tears it up on this one. You get the little crowd participation in there too. And I usually hate that shit, but I don't mind it because it doesn't drag on forever. And the second solo is very bluesy, but then, man, he just tears it up at the end of that. Killer song. Last song on side one, Problem Child. Good fast-paced version. I like the scratchy tone to the guitars one. Angus rips on this one too. And that's side one for me, man. It's no skippers, just balls out hard blues rock for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I failed to mention that on our most recent episode of the Slamfest Soundcheck, we talked about live albums, and I brought...
Yes.
We talked about AC/DC a little bit. I brought this album up, and I think I said two words, raw and loud. And that's exactly the production of this and how this thing comes across. Now, it's interesting, and we can talk about after we go through the album. The actual concert, the set list is in a different order slightly than what they put on the album, and it's kind of interesting, that they mix that up. And of course, the actual show had a couple other songs in it that were not included on the album, but we can talk about that after we get through the whole album. So yeah, so Riff Raff, it's the Powerage tour, right? So as AC/DC kind of does moving forward, right, they like to start with a new song in their set. They generally like to do that, so why not start with Riff Raff? And you're right. You can tell when Angus comes on stage and probably duck walks across the stage as the crowd goes crazy. I think Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be is a cool second song, even though it wasn't the second song in the set, and we'll talk about that. But I think that's a cool 1-2 punch for sure as they get into this. Bad Boy Boogie, so extra jamming, extended soloing, the breakdown part of the hand clapping, right? I mean, it's so, I mean, which is nuts to think about, that the crowd is almost overtaking, the band, which, and it's just absolutely blaring in that theater. But that little, like you were talking, that little, start and stop riff, it almost sounds like maybe that's, and I never thought about this before until listening to that version, but kind of where the intro to Guns for Hire comes from later. It almost sounds, exactly like that, which is interesting. The Jack, I mean, I call it a novelty song, obviously, but it's great how the crowd reacts to the verses, as he's talking about his situation. And you've got, of course, the breakdown and the crowd participation, and I think Bond says something like, sing it as loud as you like, something to that effect during that breakdown. Now, here's a question, Steve, and I don't know the answer. If he was doing a striptease back then, what song were they doing it to? Because I think they used to do it to this, didn't they?
Yeah, because on the live 1991, this song goes on for like almost 10 minutes.
Right. And, so maybe I wonder if they cut that part out.
They could have chopped it down.
Album. Yeah. So I was kind of expecting that again, and forgot that it was not in this song, but I'm sure it was during this song, during the show. And then Problem Child. Yeah. I mean, what can you say? I mean, it's just such a great song. Sounds great live. That riff, that driving riff through there, just fantastic. So yeah, nothing wrong with side one at all. How about side two?
Side two, and perfect side two for an album that you're actually listening to the album and you have to flip it over, because you get that fade in with the gosh.
Yeah, right.
The crowd's chanting it. And this version of this song just absolutely fucking rocks. This is a go-to version for me. I just want to rock the fuck out when I hear this version. Whole Lot of Rosie, because now they do it. They have the big inflatable Rosie behind the drum riser, and I think her each boob is the size of like the Goodyear blimp on that, and but it's very cool. So this is just a great rockin' song. These guys. This is the stuff that they got away from, that I can't stand now, that most of their stuff is just that mid-tempo stuff that, it's okay, but, like, I want, like, this. This is the AC/DC that I want. The ripping solos, the fast riffage, the just, like, 4-on-the-floor drumming, you know what I mean? Not this mid-tempo shit, but solos are absolutely ripping on this one. Then it goes to Rock and Roll Damnation. I always thought this was a good, solid track. It's not a one that like blows you away, but it's a good, solid track. I think the album production really does this song a favor, because it sounds really fucking excellent on here. The call and response part is pretty cool too. The bluesy solo is really good that Angus does. High Voltage is next, and this has always been a good one for me too. I always like this one. I love the guitars during the verses. I like the slowdown, and I don't even. This is another one. I don't know if it's just AC/DC that there's not a whole lot of like background stuff in that, but when they do a crowd participation thing, I don't mind it. And High Voltage is definitely one of those that I really enjoy on this one. Then it comes into Let There Be Rock, just another go-to version of it. I like the it's just when it comes back in, it's so powerful when that comes back in. It's just like a you get the slow down, the diddling, and when they get that it's just like it's like they're kind of like patting you on the back, and then the other hand is just gonna punch you in the face like right after that. I think they and when you get the preaching Bon Scott singing this song, And I like when he sings the last verse, he like puts something little extra into it that I think is really cool. There's a short solo in it, which I'm like, I don't mind too much, but just a kick-ass version. And Rocker, the lone track from Dirty Deeds, if I'm not mistaken. Just a fast ripping track, fun ending song. Angus, baby. Angus.
Yep. So, yeah, a whole lot of Rosie. Now, I read somewhere, and I was trying to go back, looking at this a week ago, and I tried to go back and find where I read this, but it said that parts of this version of this song, there was some studio stuff from it. I don't know if you had heard that.
I had not.
It just, because for the most part, I thought this was pretty real, for the most part. And I can't find now where I had read that. But
well, if it's chopped up, they did a hell of a job chopping it up.
No kidding,
putting it back together.
It doesn't sound like it at all. So. But yeah, you mentioned the crowd starting chanting, Angus as the riff starts, and then there's the pause, and they say Angus. But even when the riff is going, he's
still playing.
Angus.
He's still saying it. Yeah,
they're still saying it, but it works. It absolutely works. And this song, is there fatigue with it at all live? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think it's upbeat and just absolutely badass. And at some point, towards the end, it almost sounds like the crowd is chanting something else, and I couldn't make it out. I don't think they were.
It sounds like there's a little switch there, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what.
I don't know what they're saying. Then you get into Rock and Roll Damnation, which obviously kicks off the album Powerage. This song would not work starting the show off.
No, nope.
And I'm glad they put it where it is, and the intro is shortened even, which is good. But yeah, great song. Always love this song. Backing vocals are fantastic during it. High Voltage, I mentioned this on the very first episode we did, one of my favorite Bon era songs, and this is fantastic hearing it live here. Again, kind of a breakdown, right, with the crowd participation, and Bon says something like, okay, let's get a chat. Let's get a chat.
Let's get a chat.
Let's get a chat. And then Let There Be Rock. I mean, what do you say? I mean, live staple now. This is over 8 minutes on here, and the solo's not too long. I mean, gosh, live, the last several times I've seen him, I mean, his solo goes for like 15 minutes. It's insane, but it works here. It's more concise, which maybe they cut some of it out, but
probably.
I noticed something else during the chorus. Bon really, he really yells rock.
Yeah.
During Let There Be Rock. In the studio, he doesn't hold that note as long, and man, oh man, you could it's guttural, right? I mean, it's just absolutely, I believe him. I believe him when he's singing this song in this version. And then Rocker, old school, kind of the 50s rock and roll. I'm not a huge fan of that type of stuff when bands do it, but this works. This works for the closer of their set back then. And I think it was, I think they used it as a closer for a while before they hit it big. So there you go. 10 tracks, very, very concise. And here's something interesting, Steve. Think about this. In 1978, they hadn't hit it big. These songs weren't on the radio yet, but no TNT, no Dirty Deeds, no Sin City,
Yeah. No Live Wire.
That were played on no Live Wire. It's like, wow. They just said, hey, this is what we're doing. These are the songs we want to do, and there you go. But I found that so interesting that none of those quote unquote big radio songs.
Yeah, well, at that point, it's not like they're playing the hits because they really don't have any.
No, true.
You know what I mean? They may be a hit for me and you because we love the songs that, we've lived with them for decades, but, they didn't have that then.
But that stuff wasn't on the radio yet, right? They weren't classic rock, quote unquote. So anyway, the original concert set list is Riff Raff, Problem Child. So Problem Child actually was second. Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. They had Rock and Roll Damnation in the fourth slot, which was earlier than on the album. Bad Boy Boogie. So Dog Eat Dog was played, but not included on the album. The Jack, High Voltage, Whole Lot of Rosie. So this stuff's more in order. Let There Be Rock. And then that Fling Thing, which is that traditional Scottish folk song that I think they used to play. I think it was part of Rocker. It was kind of part of the encore. So they dumped those two songs and just made it a 10-track album. So there you go. I think I read somewhere else too. They did Give Me a Bullet during sound check.
Oh, really? And it's weird too because we talked about that too when we did Unleashed in the East, and it's another point that makes these albums very similar. That it's not the full show that they played, but it's a chopped down version of the show that they played. But if they played the whole show, it's still not enough for like a double live album.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Which obviously was so big in the 70s, and they were like, nope, we're not doing that. We're just doing 10 songs. Here you go.
I think a lot of that was record company. You're not doing a double live album. You're getting a single live album.
Yeah, I mean, especially with, like we said, they're an opening act at this point. They're not going to demand a double live album. The record company couldn't probably afford it.
Right, but I mean,
at that time,
at least it's not like Foghat Live where you have 6 songs on there.
Right.
You know what I mean? You at least get 10 out of this one.
Yep. Yeah. So overall thoughts on that album, Steve?
I love it. It's a go-to live album for me. If you're looking for something that's just a powerful sounding live album, and who knows if it's fully live or whatever. I don't give a shit at this point. I like what I like, and it just takes me back to those old days when me and Rob were rocking out to it, and you could throw the headphones on, and it's one of those like time machine albums. You put that on, and you're right back when you listened to it as a kid, and absolutely love it.
Absolutely, yeah. And again, it just epitomizes AC/DC as a live act. I mean, it just sounds so raw and crunchy, which is exactly what they were, especially in 1978. They were still hungry. Yep. Young and hungry and trying to make it. So yeah, great time capsule of that time for AC/DC. So now, Steve, I think we're at gem time. So I've got the gem song of the week this week, and kind of went back and forth with this. I know on the other episodes I've tried to kind of stick to the AC/DC feel and bands that were influenced by AC/DC, and so I decided to stick with that same theme, which I'll also do with the gem of the week. But we're going with the song that kicks off Rhino Bucket's debut album from 1990. Here's One Night Stand. So there you go, One Night Stand from Rhino Bucket. So Steve, I know you're familiar with this great band.
Yeah, I like those guys, and it's funny thinking about it, going back listening to it today, and you hear the infant Rhino Bucket stuff, and you have Brian Forsyth from Kix in there, and if you go back and listen to some of the old Kix, there's some AC/DC stuff in there too.
Oh yeah,
and
I
like it. They played Monsters of Rock Cruise a couple times. I've enjoyed them. I'm not like getting a Rhino Bucket tattoo or anything like that. But I enjoyed them, and I thought they were good, and it's a good, solid band that always had that AC/DC-esque feel to them.
Yeah. So, I missed them. They played Rocklahoma the year before we all went in 2008, and I've never had really an opportunity to see them. I obviously knew that Brian Forsyth was in that band, and then he started splitting duty a little bit with the Kix reunion stuff that he started doing. But and I think my brother probably turned me on to this band, being the big AC/DC fan. He gets exposed to a lot of these AC/DC sound-alike bands, and I remember when this album came out, and I enjoyed it. So how about Gem of the Week for you this week, Steve?
Yeah, just real quick on Rhino Bucket, and I'm kind of the same as you. If it hadn't been for Monsters of Rock Cruise, I would have never had an opportunity to see them, because I can't ever think of a time when I've heard that, hey, Rhino Bucket's playing around here. Ever.
I think they stay on the West Coast.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
Yay, Monsters of Rock Cruise.
Yeah, there you go.
So for my hidden gem this week, I stuck with the AC/DC type thing. Actually, I stuck with an AC/DC song. So in 1999, it was kind of a reunion album for Quiet Riot. It was called Alive and Well. It's got a couple covers on there. They re-recorded some of their classic stuff. If you're a Quiet Riot fan and you don't have this, get it, because the version of The Wild and the Young on there is absolutely phenomenal. But the song I'm picking for this is, they do a version of AC/DC's Highway to Hell. And there's a little different arrangement, like for the solo and then like after the solo, but it's a good, solid version. Good job, Quiet Riot.
Nice. Yeah, so for my hidden gem, I tend to go with albums when I'm on your guys' podcast. So stuck with the kind of AC/DC influence theme and went with the debut album from Dirty Looks, So Cool from the Wire from 1988. Again, same thing. I can remember my brother playing this in his room, which was right across the hall from mine. I could always hear everything he was playing, Steve. My room would shake,
Shake your foundations.
Stereo that I did back in the day. So, but I remember hearing this and being like, "What is this?" So obviously the title cut is great. It's Not the Way You Rock. Oh, Ruby, Put a Spell on You. I mean, that debut album is great. Actually, all their stuff for the most part that I've heard is fantastic. What are your thoughts? I know you guys have talked about Dirty Looks.
Yeah,
before, Steve.
I love Dirty Looks. They're like were a semi-local band to us, so they played around here a lot. Saw them in clubs a lot.
Nice.
And they recorded their live album that they put out about 4 or 5 years ago, just like 2 hours from us. And I've always loved them. I thought they were a great band. We've seen them many times in clubs, and they played Monsters of Rock Cruise 2 cruises ago, and we've talked about it on the on our recap of the cruise and stuff. That year there were like 6 of us. We just rocked the fuck out to them, and probably at least a third of the crowd left during the show, went and bought a shirt, and went back to finish watching the show. That's how fucking good they were on the pool stage. Absolutely love Dirty Looks.
Awesome. And I think so. Henrik, he died a couple years ago.
I think there's one original member left alive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Great band. So yeah, check them out if you have not gotten into their stuff at all.
Definitely.
All right, Steve. Well, one more Bon Scott album to go, and it's a big one.
It is.
It's a big one. So Highway to Hell, released July 27th, 1979. Produced by, and I'm finally saying a different name, or than I have during the first 5 albums that we've covered. So produced by Mutt Lange, charted at number 17, and is certified 8 times platinum. So same lineup as the last 2 albums. And you wanna jump into side 1, or actually maybe tell your background with this one?
Yeah. This one was I got this one after Back in Black, and I've always liked it. It's been a go-to for. We'll talk about it for the most part for me. And they were not happy that the record called Atlantic wanted them to drop Harry Vanda and George Young as their producers, and they first brought in Eddie Kramer, and they fucking hated him. They literally, I guess they worked with him for a week or 2 or something like that, and they didn't write anything. And then they told him the one day, I guess, that they were going to take the day off, and so Ezrin took the day off. They went in and they wrote like 6 songs in a day. Yeah. So, and they called their manager at the time, and then he got Mutt Lange for them. And then after Mutt Lange came in, they fired him, and then they got Peter Mensch as their manager too. And they really Mutt Lange really whipped them into shape. It seems he taught Bon Scott some vocal coaching type stuff to make him breathe better and sing better, and refine Angus's playing. Instead of like in the studio, he had him just come in the control booth and sit next to him, and telling Angus Young how to play. And he was pissed off at first, but then like he kind of got into it. So total shift in the kind of band dynamic, where it was kind of like they kind of thought of at least George Young as like the 6th member of the band, and they were pretty much forced into jettisoning him and Harry Vanda, and look how it worked out.
Right.
Just they came out with this album, and it's awesome, and it's unfortunate in a way that when we get into it we'll talk about it, but just a great one.
Yeah, well, yeah, and actually the album cover before you
yes.
Before you get into the songs. So thoughts on that?
It's cool. You get to see the whole band for a change on the album, and it's like Iconic is thrown out there all the time. But if you look at Bon Scott on there, he doesn't look like any other picture you've ever seen of him before.
No, right?
You have him. You have you can see it's like really it looks like it's featured Angus and Malcolm. And Angus has the hat on, holding on to like the devil tail, and he's got the horns out of the little hat. Yeah. And so you just got like Phil Rudd, and like looks like Cliff Williams is kind of standing on his toes in the back, just trying to get his head in the picture there. And then you got Bon Scott like leaning in. Like I said, like that picture of Bon Scott looks like no other picture I've ever seen of him before.
Yeah. Yeah,
but and it's cool that the coloring on it is kind of kind of muted a little bit, but I think it works for it.
Yeah, I like it, and I mean the first thing that you said, I mean it's only the second album that shows the whole band, right? It's always been Angus for the most part on the album covers, Let There Be Rock, and then this one, which is cool. It's pretty plain, I mean, which meat and potatoes.
Yeah, and
rock and roll band. So
yeah, and I mean you can see the band on this, but like you're really even on like Let There Be Rock, you could see the band, but you can't really see the band.
You're right. Agreed. Yeah. Yep. All right. So the first side. So title cut. What do you say? This thing. I mean, when you take a look and see how many people cover this song live. I mean, everything from Fish to Billy Joel to Bruce Springsteen. I mean, it's insane how many people cover this song live, and I'm missing a ton. But we'd be here all day if I listed them all, but the production, you could just tell a production difference right out of the gate. The riff, the drums, his verse delivery, just, some basic things. His before the first chorus and his woo, before the second one. Just those interjections are so great. And the Don't Stop Me, which is so iconic, before the guitar solo, and that guitar tone in that solo is so memorable. It almost sounds like a harmonica at times to me, right? And again, that outro chorus and the soloing, just wow, what a way to kick off the album. Girls Got Rhythm, upbeat riff, bass drum, intro is great. Again, pretty much the same riff throughout the song. Love the verses, call and response vocal with that riff. And I mean, the line, I've been around the world, I've seen a million girls. It just always sits with me. Again, pre-chorus, there's kind of a slight variation to the riff. It doesn't go up a whole key, but it seems like it does do something a slightly different. And then that call and response in the chorus, fantastic. Backseat rhythm. I mean, every song, almost every song on here is about sex one way or another, which is interesting, and just an awesome song. Love it. Walk All Over You. So again, cool that, classic slow AC/DC intro, they kind of hit you hard those first two songs and then kind of ease into this one, which I think is a great production call on mixing it up a little bit, and then kicks in obviously to an upbeat riff. And again, great chorus, slows down, underlying intro riff kind of comes back in, call and response with the I'm gonna walk all over you stuff, do anything you want me to, and then kicks back in. Great stuff. The lyrics, again, we could be here all day analyzing some of these lyrics, but they are so good. But you know what? I can't leave out verse 3, moan and groan in stereo, leave on the lace and turn off the light. That type of stuff. So good. Touch Too Much, one of my favorite songs off of the album. Just love the verse phrasing that he's got in there, and then of course the chorus seems like a touch too much. Great riff in that chorus. Second verse, almost a heavier version kind of the riff as it's building a little bit, which I think is great breakdown in there. And then the outro, just fantastic. The side closes out with Beating Around the Bush. It's okay. It's not my favorite song on the album. And again, it kind of sounds like a more upbeat version of the Fleetwood Mac song "Oh Well." Are you familiar with that song, Steve?
No.
It's kind of an older, it's the older
Green.
Fleetwood Mac song, but they play it live, when they get Lindsey Buckingham and and all of that on that live album, and that came out either late 70s, early 80s, and so it kind of sounds to me, it sounds like that, but not probably my least favorite song on the first side.
I'll have to seek that out.
Yeah. It's a cool song too. It's a rocking song. I mean, you think of Judas Priest covering Fleetwood Mac. They rock up that song. But yeah, that "Oh Well" is a cool song, and it's bluesy. It's real bluesy like this. So just an upbeat version of it.
I'll have to check it out.
How about you? Side one.
All right. Highway to Hell. Is this song not in the DNA of like every rock fan? Probably one of the most, if not the most recognizable riffs that was ever written. Oh, yeah. I want to say this is right up there with like a Whole Lot of Love. And I'm not a huge Zeppelin fan either, but like it has that
that's a great comparison.
Impact. Actually. You know what I mean? It's just like instantly recognizable. It's in your DNA. It's in, if you're even a casual AC/DC fan, you're going to love it. That's why you get so many people covering it.
Right.
A lot of, and if you don't have a band covering it, when they play songs in between bands, you will absolutely hear this 99 times out of 100. This and Back in Black. Just, I love the you can tell the difference in production right away on this song. Mutt really captures an amazing drum sound on this one, and the chorus, probably one of the most singable choruses ever written. You know, and when anyone else covers this or does this, they're singing, everyone just goes out of their shit when they start singing this chorus, myself included. Even though it's one that you hear a billion times, you don't mind it.
Yeah.
And I think that is a staple of a true classic song. And I think they have a couple of the songs like that, truthfully. Yeah. The solo's not a total ripper, but it's like kind of a rock and roll type solo that I think totally fits. And I love that pick scrape at the end. I'm like, that sends shivers up my spine every fucking time I hear it. Absolutely fantastic start to an album. Girls Got Rhythm. I think I think these two are great together. You know, you kind of hear that, and then like you're like, it's almost like these songs were meant to be 1 and 2 on the album. Just and it takes you down the intensity a little bit, but good head bobber. Just a cool feel to this song, straightforward song. The gang vocals are cool for it. Angus has some cool lead fills in there, and this is another one. The solo's pretty restrained on this song too, which, you know, after especially just listening to If You Want Blood You Got It, the solos on that album, then you hear this and you're like, wow, he's kind of got a little leash on him here on these first two songs.
Tame on this one.
Walk All Over You next. Got that dirty riff to start. Great build on this song. I love the like just how those drums kind of build it and get that tension in there. And our every time a song comes up that I talk about on any show that our local band Harpo did, I always got to throw them in there because they played this and fucking crushed it. When that main riff starts and Malcolm comes in and the drums and the bass kick in, just blows me away every time. I'm not a huge fan of the, like you said, to the walk on the slow down for the chorus, but I forgive them with the rest of the song. Angus gets some faster leads as we go along. Now for the solo, the leash is off. The dog is off the leash on this solo. It just absolutely tears it up. And after the solo, you get that riff that's played alone after that. That is just, I'm like,
oh yeah.
And then just that when that snare, you get that snare hit that kicks in and the band kicks back in, just absolutely makes me not even think about the chorus, because when that kicks back in, Angus gets another little rip there. And if you listen to that song for that last verse, Bon Scott really ramps it up, the intensity in his vocals for the last verse on this song, and just absolutely killer. I love this track. Touch Too Much, and actually I like how this how that kind of goes down for the beginning of this track. Yep. It's got a loose feel to it. Another one of those dirty AC/DC songs, you know. But it's great. It's what you've gotten used to over listen to all these albums. You know, Too Much of My Body, Too Much of My Brain. Girl Just Loves It, I'm Going Insane, or however that goes. Yeah, I just love that. And like you said it too, the second verse, the intensity, it doesn't like go into overdrive, but it picks up.
It picks up
on that second verse. I think is great. And we're restrained once again, solo wise. I think for the first part, there's a great back and forth to the chorus after the solo. More leads play it out. I think this is a really good, amazing deep track on the album. Beating around the bush. Talk about dirty riffs. That first riff, that and then it gets fast, but it's like a fast bluesy type thing. But I like it when you put this on the headphones. Angus and Malcolm's guitars are so distinct in your headphones. The production on this, I think that the production on this song, I think, is the best on the. I'm not saying it's the best song on the album, but the way that it's produced with the two guitars in each ear or each channel, however you want to say it, is like, this is like, okay, they needed this producer for this album. And Bond's got just an amazing swagger vocally on this song that I think is very cool. And Angus tears it up on the end of this one too. I think it's a great deep track.
Yeah, nice. All right, side 2. So kicks off with Shot Down in Flames. Great riff, tons of space in there. Lends itself to crowd participation live. So that Glasgow crowd would have loved this thing if this was in the set list for that live album, right? They would have been chanting throughout that whole intro. Again, great lyrics. I do have to mention one in verse 1. She's standing alone by the jukebox like she's something to sell. I said, baby, what's the going price? She told me to go to hell, right? So the story of being shot down in flames. And
right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate, right? And then the call out before the solo, hey, Angus, hey, you, Angus, right? Shoot me, shoot. And then Angus rips into the solo. So great neck slides in there kind of prior to the main traditional solo in there. Great song. So next up, so Get It Hot. So this thing, it's only like 2.5 minutes long. So it's just a quick in and out, kind of a old school rock and roll riff, which again I've mentioned I'm not a huge fan of all the time. My note here is it's almost too happy of a riff for an AC/DC song to me, at least during the verse. But the lyrics are funny, right? Nobody's playing Manilow, they're going to a party. Nobody's playing Manilow, nobody's playing soul. Just good old rock and roll, that type of stuff. But yeah, love the chorus is okay. Love the riff at the end of that chorus. So just an okay song for me. It's only, like I said, only a couple of minutes long. If You Want Blood, so always confused me, why this was on this album when the previous album was titled that, or at least the live album was titled that. But love this song. Kicks, we talked about Kicks there during the gems. So they lifted this for the verse of She Dropped Me the Bomb. It is almost identical to the verse, at least of that song. But love the upbeat riff here in the chorus, backing vocals. You've got Bon, kind of singing with the backing vocals, but his voice is out front. Love the breakdown. They actually have some vocal delay, some echo on Bon's voice, which they don't do that a lot. They don't put effects on Bon's voice hardly ever. So I always thought that was cool. And again, that call and response, If You Want Blood, you got it. Just love that song. Love Hungry Man. So this is, I hear people comment about this song, and it's different. it's a different vibe, but I dig it. Again, it reminds me of the Stones. Even that bass line, in there really reminds me of the Stones. But I don't mind the song. I think the chorus is cool, and then it kind of shifts. The second verse, it's almost got a totally different vibe to it before it goes back then to the chorus. But I don't know. I think this song gets some shit. I think it's pretty good. And then the album closes out with Night Prowler, which they got into some hot water there in the mid 80s. I don't remember that guy's name.
Richard Ramirez.
Yeah, there you go. And it's interesting. You got that big inhale at the beginning of the song, cool mid-tempo groove, almost a Ride On vibe to it. And I know they've said, hey, it's about a kid, high school kid, sneaking into his girlfriend's room or whatever at night. But I don't know. I mean, when he's saying you don't feel the steel till it's hanging out your back, I don't. What are they talking about exactly? But anyway, I no conspiracy theories here. Just thought that was always a little bit odd. But I think the song is. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool change of pace, and I don't mind it that it's closing out the album. I know some people, and I can't remember if you're a fan slow songs ending albums or not, Steve, but I kind of dig it, and I think it works. But I don't understand the Nanu thing at the end. Maybe you know a story about that, but I mean, I know Mork and Mindy was big at this time. Is that why that's there?
I'm thinking it's maybe because, like, don't take it so serious.
Well, there you go. Maybe.
That's my thinking on that. I've never read that or anything, but that's just my thought process, that it's like, relax, everybody. We're not advocating this shit. It's just the song, and just, take it for what it is.
I mean, he says, as you lie there naked like a body in a tomb. I mean, he's just painting a picture, right? He's not trying to convince somebody to go out and do that. So, anyway. How about side 2 for you?
All right, Shot Down in Flames. You get that little muted riff that starts there, and until Malcolm comes in there. This one's been busted out live over the last couple of years, because I know I've heard Brian Johnson a couple versions, and I know that when Axl was singing for them, I know this was one of the songs that they played too.
Yep.
And great chorus, but curiously, there's no background vocals in this one.
It is odd.
It is weird. I was like, you got a lot of gang vocals on this album, but there's none on this one.
Yeah.
I love the solo, but I love that when he does a you get that.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Then it goes, into the solo proper. Just fantastic. I mean, I think we're on a roll here. Great opening track for side 2, if you will. Get It Hot. Now we're hitting the brakes a little bit here for me. It has that old school AC/DC feel to a good driving beat, but I think the chorus is boring. I do like the solo. I'm still digging the drum sound, but the chorus just sucks on this one. I think, and you're right. Number one, it's only 2 minutes and 30 seconds long and change. Good for me, and it is a little happy crappy for AC/DC.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm not a happy crappy AC/DC fan. So, but then they pull me right back in with If You Want Blood, You Got It. Like you said, title track from the last album. The Malcolm riff at the beginning is great, and it has an excellent build into the vocals. Another one that's got a great driving feel into it. I love the blood on your hands, blood. I love that part. That is just awesome. I love how the solo starts. You got that one note that he plays, and then the solo starts. And this is one too that I didn't notice it. It didn't stand out as. I know it's there on the whole album, but it stood out the most to me on this one. Just the band chugging underneath during the solo on this one is absolutely awesome. The chorus at the end is just like so driving with the background vocals as the lead plays out. I just wish it didn't fade out. But, I can live with that. Love Hungry Man, Now We Take a Nosedive. This song is fucking boring as fuck, I think. It's boring. This is one of the very few skipper songs of AC/DC for me. I don't like it. And actually, Angus Young didn't like it either, because there was something in an article that they were talking about the tracks, and he said, he wrote that when he was eating like a Hungry Man dinner or something like that.
Yeah, you know what? I heard that. I forgot to mention.
And I'm like, well, it's about as appetizing as a Hungry Man dinner for me, song-wise.
The at the end, I forgot to mention those lyrics. Oh baby, you're such a treat, and a man's got to eat, and bon appetit.
Yeah,
they're putting all those kind of play on word interjections in there.
You think he was watching like the Food Network shows that are on now,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So ends up with Night Prowler. I was never a fan of this song myself. The Nosedive continues for me. I think it's boring. I just think it's a boring song. The background vocals are good. The Night Prowler, I do like that. Angus does tear it up on this one. It's just okay for me. And like I said, the Shazbot Nano Nano, I think that's just a tongue-in-cheek thing. Just like, don't go crazy about this song, which people had gone crazy about this song.
Right.
I mean, and it is a serious, thing, but And it was just, I want to say that whole ball got rolling because an AC/DC hat was left at the scene of one of the crimes.
Yeah, one of the scenes.
And it's not like it was Angus was rocking in the driveway and dropped his hat there. You know what I mean? You can't help what someone wears or whatever. No, and I don't even know if they've ever even established that it was his hat. But I know he was all in a, I don't know if it was real that to him or if he was just acting, that he was into all this kind of Satanism and all this shit. But AC/DC was never into that. I mean, you got the album Highway to Hell, but it's not about going to hell. It's about them on the road. So I think that a lot was read into that Night Stalker shit with AC/DC, that a lot of people that are against like rock and bands and shit like that look for stuff like that. And they will, if they get a slight opening to pounce on something like that, they will.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It was a perfect opportunity for them to swoop in and blame AC/DC because this dude's killing people. Like, really? So I think that's what that's for. But I'm not a huge fan of that song. But I do like parts of it though.
Yeah. All right. So there's album number 2. So overall thoughts on Highway to Hell?
I like it. Classic album. Like I said, there's a couple moments on there that I'm not a huge fan of. That and one of the very few AC/DC skipper songs on an album, Get It Hot. It's other than that, Night Prowler. I'm not going to turn it off when it comes on. It's just not a favorite for me. But this got some killer rock and shit on there, and it's just one of AC/DC is one of those ultimate what if scenarios,
Right.
What if, Bon Scott had not passed away? You know what I mean? You don't know, but it's always one of those cool subjects to talk about, and then you always hear rumors that there's a version of, like Bon Scott singing Back in Black or something like that, but, you've never heard anything, you just hear rumors and shit, so you don't know if stuff like that's true. And like I said, one of those cool what if scenarios, and but a fantastic album. The If You Want Blood, You Got It is fantastic. A go-to album for me, and it's a it's a quick listen. If you listen to it on vinyl, you're flipping it over once. You're not flipping it over, then taking it off and putting the other one on and flipping that over too. So good quick listen. Rocking takes me right back to rocking with my buddy Rob.
Absolutely. Yeah. Again, doing this review. I mean, I always knew that it's top heavy, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's top. There's some good stuff on side 2. I won't ever be doing a which side are you on this album, because it's I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But and we're gonna next time. Obviously, we'll be getting into the Brian Johnson era, and I know a lot of people like to put Highway to Hell up against Back in Black, which I think is an interesting debate. And but I think there are some stuff on side 2 on here that again hurts it a little bit.
Yeah, puts it down a little bit.
But yeah, overall you can't deny the stuff that's on there, and the stuff that really rocks that's on there. So all right, Steve. Well, so we're through the Bon Scott era, and we want to task ourselves with ranking the Bon Scott albums. Correct?
Yep.
So we're including obviously the live album we just covered as well. Correct?
We can.
I mean, we can't. Well, and I know we talked about Jailbreak too. I don't know if you had Jailbreak anywhere. I
have Jailbreak on there.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, so yeah, do you want to include If You Want Blood? Do you have a spot for it?
I do.
Okay. So let's see. So we've got 7 albums. So do you want to go? You want to give your 7? I'll give my 7. We'll go back and forth until we get to number 1.
Let's do it.
All right. You want to lead us off?
Okay, I'll go number 7, Jailbreak 74, just because it's an EP. But Jailbreak itself is one of my favorite AC/DC songs, so that's got to be last. It's not a full album.
Absolutely, and it's last for me. But yeah, I love I love Jailbreak. It's too bad they kind of stopped playing that. I'm trying to think when's the last time they played it. It might have been, Wright, didn't you see him on the Blow Up Your Video tour?
Yeah, well, they played it. They played it on the Razor's Edge tour because it's on that live album.
Oh, it is on that live album, isn't it? Yeah, I did not see that.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much after that they played it. I did see that tour too.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, classic song, and there's some other cool stuff on there.
There was. I was surprised at how much I like the other stuff on there. But it's an EP. You're right.
All right, number 6.
Number 6, I have Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap.
I'm surprised a little bit with that. I remember you. I mean,
there were a couple on there that I was like, because as we go, I'm just going to say that how they're ranked is because the album ahead of it has, if it has the songs that I like on that, I like more than the ones that I like on the other one. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
agreed. I'm not saying there's more skippers, but like I may like a song on one, but I really like a song better on the other one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I've got Dirty Deeds at number 6 as well. Again, there's some strong stuff on there, but there's some other stuff that talked about it kind of during the episode. I feel like there was so much kind of old school,
Yeah, they were still mostly blues based then.
Stuff. Yeah, and it just, again, I'd rather they do kind of their own thing versus going back to that. So, Dirty Deeds at number 6 for me. How about number 5?
Number 5, I have High Voltage.
Ooh, okay.
Same thing with that. There's some weaker stuff on there, but the stronger stuff that's coming up is stronger than the strong stuff on this.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, yeah. So I've got. If You Want Blood, You Got It. Right here, and again, the stuff. Moving from here on up is all pretty strong, and they're just like we talked about, that the hits, quote unquote hits, the songs that would become hits for them on the radio were not on here. I think that's cool that they didn't include that stuff on here, but with some of the albums that have those other songs on there, I've got those ranked higher, so that's my number 5.
All right. For number 4, I have If You Want Blood, You Got It.
Okay.
Like I said, powerful album. I love it. It's a go-to, and but I wish that there were some. I'm not saying anything sucks, but I'm saying I wish there was a little better song choice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Agreed. So number 4, so I've got Powerage here, and when we talked about Powerage, I made the comment that this is their rock and roll over. This is their Fair Warning. Those albums don't have a ton of hits on them, quote unquote. Those bands don't play a ton of songs off of those albums live, but the fans,
fan favorite.
It's the fan favorite type of thing. And again, I enjoy it. There's a lot, I enjoy a lot of the songs on there, but I have some memories of the other albums a little bit more with the songs on some of those other albums. So I'm putting it at number 4.
All right, number 3 for me, we just talked about it, Highway to Hell.
Yeah, I mean...
Night Prowler and Get It Hot and Love Hungry Man, just like there's 3, but the rest of the stuff is awesome.
Yeah, yep. Yeah, I mean, when you initially said, hey, let's rank these, I'm kind of thinking, gosh, yeah, are we both going to have Highway to Hell, at the top automatically, but I don't have it at the top either. I don't have it at 3. I have High Voltage at 3, which again, I love the bookends of both sides. I think I talked about that on the on the episode, And again, there's a few things in there. You know, I mean, the Jack, like I've said, it's a novelty type song. You know, kind of like Big Balls on Dirty Deeds, and so there's just a couple other things kind of in between there that the other two albums trumpet. So I've got that at 3. How about number 2?
All right, number 2. Let There Be Rock is my number 2. I'm not, you know what? No, I can't. I'm just looking at the track listing. I can't do that. I gotta do Powerage. I gotta do Powerage as number 2, only because I was just looking at both albums, and there's like 2 skippers for me on Powerage, and there's really no skippers for me on, spoiler, Let There Be Rock.
Yep. Yep. So actually, we're on the same page. I've got Highway to Hell too. Again, yeah, that first side and you know, the two good rockin' songs on side 2. Gosh, they're just so good. They're so good. Yep. But yeah, we're on the same page. Let There Be Rock, 8 songs, Steve.
Nothing I want to skip on there.
Nothing I want to skip. It sounds like a live album. I mean, it's so raw. That production is just, holy shit. It's so raw and loud and just in your face. Just love it. So yeah, I wasn't sure we were going to be as, you know, we had some similarities in there, kind of in the middle, you know, things got shuffled around, but yeah, we both went with Let There Be Rock as number 1. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Steve, this was great way to close out the Bon Scott era, and now things change.
Yes, they do. Boy, do they change.
Boy, do some things change. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I mean, the next 2 albums we're gonna do are the 2 album covers I remember seeing. You know, the first time. Again, I think my brother got For Those About to Rock for Christmas, and then he went backwards to Back in Black. So that'll be an interesting episode for sure. Looking forward to it. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you guys are doing at Hotter Than Hell, and then I'll close us out.
All right, yeah, we got some cool episodes coming up. We got some more of our cast of characters coming up. Actually, on the next episode, we got a cool one coming up that was a kind of a little different idea for like playlists to talk about, which I thought was pretty cool. And Kiss Crew guys coming up. I still have let's see, we got October, November, December. So we got 3 more 2x2s or album duos coming up for the rest of the year. And I'm looking forward to doing them. We're going to have Dylan's birthday and BB's birthday episodes coming up. And, our wrap up at the end of the year. Got some couple little curveball, maybe something that we haven't done in a while, too, in there. So it's going good. We're heading down that track. Nice.
So, yeah, Slamfest podcast, so weekly, coming out Thursdays in... So when this comes out, be it like episode 222, and as I mentioned earlier, have kind of a monthly sidecast coming out, the Slamfest sound check. So have a few more of those coming out this year. I love implemented. Those. Thank you, appreciate it. Implemented a quarterly regret, so concert tour regret that I missed. So I've got that all lined up here for the end of the third quarter, and I've got an idea for the end of the year. And then of course I do a year wrap up and rank the shows I saw during the year. So yeah, it's coming fast, isn't it, Steve?
It is.
Almost in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
So good things happening at Slamfest. So again, thanks again, Steve, for having me on this theme episode for this great rock and roll band. And yeah, we're closing out one era and moving into a new era of the band next time around, which will probably be next year, I would assume.
Probably in the spring. And thank you for coming on. Always great having you on. You did the Dio draft a couple of weeks ago with us. That was freaking awesome. And
that was awesome.
Always great having you on. I appreciate you giving your time, especially on your birthday. Happy birthday once again.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm just gonna take it easy tonight. I've got a big concert I'm going to. You guys will see that episode probably a week from this Thursday. I'll try to turn that around. And but again, yeah, thanks again, Steve, and Potter than Hellions out there. We'll see you next time, and there will definitely be a next time.